Rocky is a 1976 American sports drama film directed by John G. Avildsen and both written by and starring Sylvester Stallone. It tells the rags-to-riches American dream story of Rocky Balboa, an uneducated but kind-hearted debt collector for a loan shark in the city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Rocky starts out as a club fighter who later gets a shot at the World Heavyweight Championship. It also stars Talia Shire as Adrian, Burt Young as Adrian's brother Paulie, Burgess Meredith as Rocky's trainer Mickey Goldmill, and Carl Weathers as the champion, Apollo Creed. The film, made on a budget of just over $1 million and shot in 28 days, was a sleeper hit. It earned $225 million in global box office receipts, becoming the highest-grossing film of 1976, and went on to win 3 Oscars, including Best Picture. The film received many positive reviews and turned Stallone into a major star. It spawned 5 sequels: Rocky II, III, IV, V and Rocky Balboa, all written by and starring Stallone, who also directed all sequels except for Rocky V. Plot: on November 25, 1975, Rocky Balboa is introduced as a small-time boxer and collector for a loan shark named Anthony Gatso and is living in the Kensington neighborhood of Philadelphia. The World Heavyweight Championship bout, with undefeated heavyweight champion Apollo Creed defending against Mac Lee Green, is scheduled to take place at the Philadelphia Spectrum on New Year's Day 1976, the year of the United States bicentennial. When Green drops out because of an injured hand, Creed and his entourage are stymied on what to do. Other contenders say there is not enough time to get into shape. Creed comes up with the idea of giving a local underdog a shot at the title and, because he likes Rocky's nickname the Italian Stallion, he selects the relatively unknown fighter. He puts it in lights by proclaiming Apollo Creed meets the Italian Stallion. The fight promoter George Jurgens says the decision is very American. But Creed says, rather, that it is very smart. To prepare for the fight, Rocky trains with the 1920s-era ex-bantamweight fighter and gym owner, Mickey Goldmill. Mickey always considered Rocky's potential to be better than his €40, telling him he had heart but also calling him a tomato, and leg breaker for some cheap second-rate loan shark among other endearments, and putting Rocky out of his gym locker preceding the freak luck opportunity that comes Rocky's way, and Rocky is initially skeptical of Mickey's motives and timing for wanting to train Rocky for the big fight. Rocky's good friend Paulie, a meat-packing plant worker, lets him practice his punches on the carcasses hanging in the freezers. Rocky courts and eventually dates Paulie's shy, quiet sister, Adrian, who works as a clerk in a local pet store. He draws Adrian out of her shell and, as Rocky's girlfriend, she begins to gain in confidence. Paulie, however, is jealous of the relationship. The night before the fight, Rocky privately tours the Spectrum and notices the photograph of him wearing the wrong-colored shorts. Mr. Jurgens tells Rocky the incorrect photograph doesn't really matter. Dejected, Rocky confides to Adrian that he does not expect to beat Creed and that all he wants is to go the distance because no one had ever gone the distance with Creed. On New Year's Day, the climactic boxing match begins. Apollo Creed has never taken the fight seriously, and Rocky unexpectedly knocks him down in the first round, embarrassing Creed, and the match turns intense. Creed's prediction that he would knock out Rocky in 3 rounds is quickly erased as the two fighters engage in a brutal match. Creed realizes that he has underestimated his opponent and desperately defends his title. The fight indeed lasts 15 rounds, with both fighters sustaining many injuries. Rocky suffers his first broken nose and debilitating trauma around the eye, and Creed sustains brutal blows to his ribs with substantial internal bleeding. As the match progresses, Creed's superior skill is countered by Rocky's apparently unlimited ability to absorb punishment, and his dogged refusal to be knocked out. As the final round bell sounds, with both fighters locked in each other's arms, an exhausted Creed vows ain't gonna be no rematch, to which an equally spent Rocky replies, "Don't want one." After the fight, multiple layers of drama are played out, sportscasters and audience are going wild. The promoter ring announcer George Jurgens announces over the loudspeaker that the match was the greatest exhibition of guts and stamina in the history of the ring. Rocky calls out repeatedly for Adrian, who runs down and comes into the ring as Paulie distracts the security personnel. As Jurgens declares Apollo Creed the winner by virtue of a split decision, Adrian and Rocky embrace while they profess their love to one another, not caring about the result of the fight. Cast: Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa, an enforcer for a loan shark by day and a semi-pro boxer by night. He is given the chance at the heavyweight title. Talia Shire as Adrian Penino, Rocky's love interest. A shy and quiet pet store clerk who falls in love with Rocky and supports him through his training. Burt Young as Paulie Penino, Adrian's brother. A meat-packing plant worker by trade, Paulie permits Rocky to train in the freezer. Carl Weathers as Apollo Creed, Rocky's opponent and the heavyweight champion. Burgess Meredith as Mickey Goldmill, Rocky's manager and trainer, a former bantamweight fighter from the 1920s and the owner of the local boxing gym. Thayer David as Miles Jurgens, the fight promoter who has promoted fights all over the world. Joe Spinell as Tony Gatso, loan shark and Rocky's employer. Tony Burton as Tony Duke Evers, Apollo Creed's manager and trainer. Cameo appearances: boxer Joe Frazier has a cameo appearance in the film. The character of Apollo Creed was influenced by outspoken boxer Muhammad Ali, who fought Frazier 3 times. During the Academy Awards ceremony, Ali and Stallone staged a brief comic confrontation to show Ali was not offended by the film. Some of the plot's most memorable moments are Rocky's carcass punching scenes and Rocky running up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. As part of his training regime are taken from the real-life exploits of Joe Frazier, for which he received no credit. Due to the film's comparatively low budget, members of Stallone's family played minor roles. His father rings the bell to signal the start and end of a round, his brother Frank plays a street corner singer, and his first wife, Sasha, was stills photographer. Other cameos include former Philadelphia and then current Los Angeles television sportscaster Stallone playing himself, alongside radio and TV broadcaster Bill Baldwin. And Lloyd Kaufman, founder of the independent film company Troma, appearing as a drunk. Diana Lewis, then a news anchor in Los Angeles and later in Detroit, has a small scene as a TV news reporter. Tony Burton appeared as Apollo Creed's trainer, Tony Duke Evers, a role he would reprise in the entire Rocky series, though he is not given an official name until Rocky II. Though uncredited, Michael Dorn, who would later gain fame as the Klingon Worf in Star Trek: The Next Generation and Star Trek: Deep Space Nine, made his acting debut as Creed's bodyguard. Production: United Artists liked Stallone's script, and viewed it as a possible vehicle for a well-established star such as Robert Redford, Ryan O'Neal, Burt Reynolds, or James Caan. Stallone appealed to the producers to be given a chance to star in the film. He later said that he would never have forgiven himself if the film became a success with someone else in the lead. He also knew that producers Irwin Winkler's and Robert Chartoff's contract with the studio enabled them to green-light a project if the budget was kept low enough. The producers also collateralized any possible losses with their big-budget entry, New York, New York. Certain elements of the story were altered during filming. The original script had a darker tone. Mickey was portrayed as racist and the script ended with Rocky throwing the fight after realizing he did not want to be part of the professional boxing world after all. Although Chartoff and Winkler were enthusiastic about the script and the idea of Stallone playing the lead character, they were hesitant about having an unknown headline the film. The producers also had trouble casting other major characters in the story, with Adrian and Apollo Creed cast unusually late by production standards. Real-life boxer Ken Norton was initially sought for the role of Apollo Creed, but he pulled out and the role was ultimately given to Carl Weathers. Norton had had 3 fights with Muhammad Ali, upon whom Creed was loosely based. According to the Rocky scrapbook, Carrie Snodgrass was originally chosen to play Adrian, but a money dispute forced the producers to look elsewhere. Susan Sarandon auditioned for the role but was deemed too pretty for the character. After Talia Shire's ensuing audition, Chartoff and Winkler, along with Avildsen, insisted that she play the part. Inventor-operator Garrett Brown's new Steadicam was used to accomplish smooth photography while running alongside Rocky during the film's Philadelphia street jogging training sequences and the run up the Art Museum's flight of stairs. It was also used for some of the shots in the fight scenes and can be openly seen at the ringside during some wide shots of the final fight. While filming Rocky, both Stallone and Weathers suffered injuries during the shooting of the final fight. Stallone suffered bruised ribs and Weathers suffered a damaged nose, the opposite injuries of what their characters had. The poster seen above the ring before Rocky fights Apollo Creed shows Rocky wearing red shorts with a white stripe when he actually wears white shorts with a red stripe. When Rocky points this out, he is told that it doesn't really matter, does it? According to director Avildsen's DVD commentary, this was an actual mistake made by the props department that they could not afford to rectify, so Stallone wrote the brief scene to ensure the audience didn't see it as a goof. Avildsen said that the same situation arose with Rocky's robe. When it came back from the costume department, it was far too baggy for Stallone. And because the robe arrived on the day of filming the scene and there was no chance of replacing or altering it, instead of ignoring this and risk the audience laughing at it, Stallone wrote the dialogue where Rocky himself points out the robe is too big. The first date between Rocky and Adrian, in which Rocky bribes a janitor to allow them to skate after closing hours in a deserted ice skating rink, was shot that way only because of budgetary pressures. This scene was originally scheduled to be shot in a skating rink during regular business hours. However, the producers ultimately decided that they couldn't afford to hire the hundreds of extras that would have been necessary for that scene. The production budget for Rocky was $1,075,000, with a further $100,000 spent on producers' fees and $4.2 million of advertising costs. It eventually earned worldwide box office receipts exceeding $225 million, with $117 million coming from North America. Stallone's inspiration: the film draws inspiration from the careers of at least 3 boxers. The character's name and ethnicity harken to Rocky Marciano. The main plot of the film may have been based on the match between Muhammad Ali and Chuck Wepner at Richfield Coliseum in Richfield, Ohio on March 24, 1975. Wepner was TKO'd in the 15th round by Ali, but nobody ever expected him to last as long as he did. Stallone watched the Wepner-Ali fight and shortly afterwards wrote the script for Rocky, but Stallone subsequently denied that Wepner provided any inspiration for the script. Other possible inspirations for the film may have included Rocky Graziano's autobiography Somebody Up There Likes Me, and the movie of the same name. Wepner filed a lawsuit which was eventually settled with Stallone for an undisclosed amount. The Philadelphia setting and details of training come from the life of Joe Frazier. Rocky Steps. The famous scene of Rocky running up the steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art has become a cultural icon. In 1982, a statue of Rocky, commissioned by Stallone for Rocky III, was placed at the top of the Rocky Steps. City Commerce Director Dick Doran claimed that Stallone and Rocky had done more for the city's image than anyone since Ben Franklin. Differing opinions of the statue and its placement led to a relocation to the sidewalk outside the Spectrum Arena, although the statue was temporarily returned to the top of the steps in 1990 for Rocky V, and again in 2006 for the 30th anniversary of the original Rocky. Later that year, it was permanently moved to a spot next to the steps. The scene is frequently parodied in the media. In You Don't Mess with the Zorn, Zorn's nemesis, Phantom, goes through a parodied training sequence finishing with him running up a desert dune and raising his hands in victory. In the 4th season's finale of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, as the credits roll at the end of the episode, Will is seen running up the same steps of the Philadelphia Museum of Art. However, as he celebrates after finishing his climb, he passes out in exhaustion, and while he lies unconscious on the ground, a pickpocket steals his wallet and his wool hat. Also in The Nutty Professor, there is a scene where Eddie Murphy is running up the stairs and throwing punches at the top. In 2006, E! named the Rocky Steps scene number 13 in its 101 Most Awesome Moments in Entertainment. During the 1996 Summer Olympics torch relay, Philadelphia native Dawn Staley was chosen to run up the museum steps. In 2004, presidential candidate John Kerry ended his pre-convention campaign at the foot of the steps before going to Boston to accept his party's nomination for president. Critical reception: Rocky received mixed to positive reviews at the time of its release. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times gave it 4 out of 4 stars and said that Stallone reminded him of the young Marlon Brando. Box Office magazine claimed that audiences would be touting Sylvester Stallone as a new star. The film, however, did not escape criticism. Vincent Canby, of the New York Times, called it pure 30s make-believe, and dismissed both Stallone's acting and Avildsen's directing, calling the latter none too decisive. Frank Rich liked the film, calling it almost 100% schmaltz, but favoring it over the cynicism that was prevalent in movies at the time, although he referred to the plot as gimmicky, and the script heavy-handed. He attributed all of the film's weaknesses to Avildsen, describing him as responsible for some of the most tawdry movies of recent years, and who has an instinct for making serious emotions look tawdry, and said of Rocky, "He'll go for a cheap touch whenever he can, and tries to falsify material that was suspect from the beginning. Even by the standards of fairy tales, it strains logic." Rich also criticized the film's stupid song with couplets like "Feeling strong now won't be long now." Several reviews, including Richard Edder's, compared the work to that of Frank Capra. Andrew Saris found the Capra comparisons disingenuous. Capra's movies projected more despair deep down than a movie like Rocky could envisage, and most previous Ring movies have been much more cynical about the fight scene, and, commenting on Rocky's work as a loan shark, says that the film teeters on the edge of sentimentalizing gangsters. Saris also found Meredith oddly cast in the kind of part the late James Gleason used to pick his teeth. Saris also took issue with Avildsen's direction, which he described as having been done with an insidious smirk with condescension toward everything and everybody, specifically finding fault, for example, with Avildsen's multiple shots of a chintzy lamp in Rocky's apartment. Saris also found Stallone's acting style a bit mystifying, and his character all rough as opposed to a diamond in the rough like Terry Malloy. More than 30 years later, the film enjoys a reputation as a classic and still receives positive reviews. Rocky holds a 92% certified fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with the consensus stating, "This story of a down-on-his-luck boxer is thoroughly predictable, but Sylvester Stallone's script and stunning performance in the title role brush aside complaints." Another positive online review came from the BBC Films website, with both reviewer Ulmer Haflidason and BBC Online users giving it 5/5 stars. In Stephen J. Schneider's 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die, Schneider says the film is often overlooked as schmaltz. In 2006, Rocky was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. In June 2008, AFI revealed its 10 Top 10 the best 10 films in 10 classic American film genres after polling over 1,500 people from the creative community. Rocky was acknowledged as the second best film in the sports genre, after Raging Bull. In 2008, Rocky was chosen by Empire magazine as one of the 500 greatest movies of all time. Academy Awards Euro 1976, Rocky received 10 Academy Awards nominations in 9 categories, winning 3. Rocky has also appeared on several of the American Film Institute's 100 Years lists. AFI's 100 Years. 100 Movies number 78. AFI's 100 Years. 100 Thrills number 52, AFI's 100 Years. 100 Passions, nominated, AFI's 100 Years. 100 Heroes and Villains, Rocky Balboa number 7 Hero. AFI's 100 Years. 100 Songs, Gonna Fly Now number 58. AFI's 100 Years. 100 Movie Quotes, Yo, Adrian. Number 80. AFI's 100 Years of Film Scores, nominated, AFI's 100 Years. 100 Cheers number 4. AFI's 100 Years. 100 Movies number 57, AFI's 10 Top 10 number 2 Sports Film, The Directors Guild of America awarded Rocky its annual award for Best Film of the Year in 1976, and in 2006, Sylvester Stallone's original screenplay for Rocky was selected for the Writers Guild of America award as the 78th best screenplay of all time. Home video release history: 1979 a Euro first telecast on American television, 1982 a Euro CED video disc and VHS. VHS releases rental only. 20th Century Fox video release, October 27, 1990, April 16, 1996, March 24, 1997, April 24, 2001, December 14, 2001, February 8, 2004, December 5, 2005, December 4, 2006, November 3, 2007, 2009, Other media, soundtrack, all music by Bill Conti. Gonna Fly Now a Euro 248, Philadelphia Morning a Euro 222, Going the Distance a Euro 239, Reflections a Euro 319, Marines Yankee Doodle a Euro 144, Take You Back a Euro 149, First Date a Euro 153, You Take My Heart Away a Euro 446, Fanfare for Rocky a Euro 235, Butkus a Euro 212, Alone in the Ring a Euro 110, The Final Bell a Euro 156, Rocky's Reward a Euro 202, Rocky's soundtrack was composed by Bill Conti. The main theme song, Gonna Fly Now, made it to number 1 on the Billboard magazine's Hot 100 list for 1 week, and the American Film Institute placed it 58th on its AFI's 100 Years. 100 Songs. The complete soundtrack was re-released in 1988 by EMI on CD and cassette. Conti was also the composer for Rocky's II, III, V, and Rocky Balboa. The version of Gonna Fly Now used in the film is different from the versions released on later CDs and records. The vocals and guitars are much more emphasized than the versions released. The movie version has yet to be released. Although the Conti version of Gonna Fly Now is the most recognizable arrangement, a cover of the song performed by legendary trumpeter Maynard Ferguson on his Conquistador album prior to the release of the motion picture soundtrack actually outsold the soundtrack itself. Chart positions, novelization. A paperback novelization of the screenplay was written by Rosalind Drexler and published by Ballantine Books in 1976. Video games. Several video games have been made based on the film. The first Rocky video game was released by Coleco for ColecoVision in August 1983, titled Rocky Super Action Boxing. The principal designer was Coleco staffer B. Dennis Sester. Another was released in 1987 for the Sega Master System. More recently, a Rocky video game was released in 2002 for the Nintendo GameCube, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation 2, and Xbox, and a sequel, Rocky Legends, was released in 2004 for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. In 2007, a video game called Rocky Balboa was released for PSP. In 1985, Dynamic Software released a boxing game for the Sinclair ZX Spectrum called Rocky. Due to copyright reasons it was quickly renamed Rocco. Theatre. A musical has been written by Stephen Flaherty and Lynn Ahrens with a book by Thomas Meehan based on the film. The musical premiered in Hamburg, Germany in October 2012 and began performances at the Winter Garden Theatre on Broadway on February 11, 2014 and officially opened on March 13, 2014. Notes. External links: Rocky, the Encyclopedia of Greater Philadelphia, official anthology site, Rocky at the Internet Movie Database, Rocky at the TCM Movie Database, Rocky at AllMovie, Rocky at Box Office Mojo, Rocky at Rotten Tomatoes, Rocky at the Sports Movie Guide, ESPN.com. Page 2 articles, Real Life Rocky by Jeff Merrin, The Making of Rocky by Sylvester Stallone, A Movie of Blood, Spit and Tears by Royce Webb, 6 Little Known Truths About Rocky by Ralph Wiley, Which Rocky is the Real Champ? By Bill Simmons.